Yeah, so that is one of the criteria for the play selection that we put in, even before I even really start trying to optimize and make them better. It's like I just like right off the bat try to cut out anything that's illiquid. So we say like, okay, it's got to be trading a certain amount of dollar volume per minute, or putting through a certain number of trades per minute, and that's kind of its starting point. But even with that, we still have issues with some liquidity stuff, like you mentioned, where there's some slippage on the stops. Or I think the bigger deal, honestly, is missing entries. Like if you have one of those stocks that spikes up and you try to short it on the backside when it's just in its free fall collapse, and it never bounces back up to fill the rest of your position. Like missing those wins, especially in something that's supposed to be low win rate, high risk reward. Like missing those wins is really painful to the overall results. So I'm kind of currently.
Those?
Sorry?
So how do you offset those situations? When you do all your back testing, most of those times you're assuming fills.
Exactly,
in a perfect world, you're assuming fills, but then when you go and deploy it, like you're saying, you miss those liquidity situations where you're trying to catch it when it's popping and you're adding liquidity versus taking liquidity. So did you ever do any kind of experimentation between that?
So with the exit side, like stopping out in the slippage, what I did for this generation of play is that I in the data we pulled what was the highest price within 5 seconds of the stock stopping me out, and we're using that as like what would the exit be. So that's kind of like the worst case scenario, because if we're firing out a market order, like we're going to fill in 5 seconds. So we're kind of building it off of a worst case scenario from the start, like what's the worst slippage we might take, and can we still build a possible strategy, or build a build a profitable strategy, even with that worst case slippage factored in.